Hey guys, welcome, and we have a very interesting video and subject to look at today. We will be talking about truth or myth, and was the bull worshipped in Atlantis? Plato was in 428 to 347 BCE approximately, and he told the story of Atlantis around 360 BC. This is known as the Eye of the Sahara Desert. Could this be Plato's lost city? The founders of Atlantis, he said, were half god and half human. And this is what Plato wrote in 360 BC. NationalGeographic.com reported that. This would make them demigods, which we know don't really exist, except in mythology. A bull cult is noted by Plato as one of the characteristics of Atlantis. Atlantis apparently had bulls that they sacrificed. This is more along the lines of Mithraism. This type of worship was in the Greek and Roman civilizations and cultures that followed the cult of Mithra, but this was for the god Poseidon, the sea god. If the city really existed, then this would make them no different than the nations that came after them or before them. There was a temple with a very large statue of Poseidon that reached the roof in the center of the city, as the story goes. This definitely sounds familiar with the Greek temples that also had a very large statue of Zeus in their temple that reached the roof. What Yahweh has made humankind has taken for granted by worshiping other mighty ones. Yahweh in all his glory cannot be compared to any other mighty one. The lost city of Atlantis either never existed or it existed as a normal city in its time. Unfortunately, it came with pagan deities and rituals, but maybe Plato wrote about a city that existed well before his time. If so, it offers more proof that idols were worshipped and the bull was also a large part of their society. Gods and goddesses ruled the cities of many ancient peoples and tongues. In Egypt, the bull god Apis was worshipped, which is on the African continent northeast of the Eye of the Sahara Desert. The Rekach structure, could it have been known as the Eye of Horus by the Egyptians? History can unlock some of these questions and offer a few answers, but we will never really know why Plato wrote the story of Atlantis. Supposing that there was a city completely covered by water, it could mean that Yahweh destroyed it by water through a biblical-sized flood, or that it happened through circumstances that the city became lost to time and natural events. I am not a biblical scholar nor a scientist. I am just someone with an interest of how the Bible may tie in with ancient civilizations and events in history. I must say that I didn't think that I would ever consider Atlantis to be one of them. Atlantis is by the Atlantic Ocean, or as previously thought, is an island in the Atlantic Ocean. A king named Atlas ruled the city, which makes sense as they were on or by the Atlantic Ocean. Thus, the island was named Atlantis. The city was supposed to be overtaken by a great amount of water. I can't say whether or not this is a pagan view of Noah's flood, which also exists in the Sumerian writings. All I can say is that it mimics the false mighty ones in the same way as the Greek culture of its day. Plato lived in Greece, so it's understandable. Could Atlantis have been a real place, or just Plato telling stories? If it was no different than other ancient civilizations and may have been destroyed for their wickedness by Yahweh. This city is not mentioned in the Bible. Plato mentioned that Atlantis was 9,000 years before his time. There is one problem with that. The earth is not 9,000 years old. It can't be more than 6,000 years old. The Bible tells us of Noah's flood that happened quickly. Therefore, the fossilization also happened quickly, not over millions of years. So as we look at this from a biblical perspective, there is no pottery or much evidence at all that this civilization existed. We can't really know for sure, the whereabouts of the lost city. It could have existed, but unless there is more evidence, no one can be sure. There are many stories surrounding it, and it is doubtful in my mind, but that is my opinion only. If it was so ancient and far removed from the places in the Bible, then we won't ever know, and it is not worth speculating about. In this video, I think it is important to know what to stay away from, and this is one such thing. It can be, however, an interesting study about history and how it has shaped the minds of people through the years. Two key points to remember. Plato came from Greece. The story is overwhelmingly influenced by Greek culture. Atlantis predated Greece by thousands of years in Plato's story. There is not enough evidence with pottery and houses to say that it existed, i.e., with the name Atlantis, or that points to the culture. Although they think that Santorini is also a place it could have been, but no water covering it. However, at the eye of the Sahara Desert in Africa, the Rikat structure, there was the name Atlantis on very old maps on the western side. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share. And I will catch you guys all on the next video. Shalom.